Next thing is the shaker boxes. And Frank, another one of our club members, he's not here, but he builds these all the time. I can't think of his last name at the moment.
Frank Jones.
Frank Jones. I should remember that. But he builds a lot of them. So anyway, there's a fellow, John Wilson. I've got kind of his literature here. He's a guy that's been kind of resurrecting these shaker boxes. And he actually bought the machines that make the copper tacks. So there'll be kind of a continuous supply of this. And so anybody that thinks they want to do this, he's got a website, and he'll sell kits, he'll sell plans, he'll sell just the tacks. So probably 15 years ago or more, I said, I'm going to make some shaker boxes. And I ordered, tacks and some plans. Never got to it until, I had nothing to do this summer. So I got started on these things, and they're really not that hard to make, but you're not going to make them quick. And so the first thing you have to do is make a form. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself because we're going to talk about this. So anyway, they're all different species. Traditionally, they were pine. This box is made with a piece of pine that's probably 200 years old. And it's pretty thin. It's probably, well, I've got a chart that says it's less than a 1/16 of an inch. No, it's less than an eighth. So it's probably like 80 thousandths, maybe. No, this one's probably 100 thousandths, but it's really thin. So that's the first thing you got to do. You got to be able to make thin wood. And like I said, if you're first getting started, he'll sell the wood too. But which I'll show you, you steam bend this, and you bend it around a form, and then the bottom, this is actually veneered over a piece of plywood. Because if this was solid wood, just the expansion would probably split the band. And I'm not sure, when the Shakers did this, there was no plywood. And they made boxes this big, and they were utilitarian boxes. The only thing I can think is that, they used quarter-sawn old-growth pine, and it didn't really expand very much. So we'll talk about more of the detail, but once you make the forms to do this, you steam bend it, you put it together, and then you just finish it off. And it actually, and they all nest together. Like this box will go in here, this will go in here. So, for transporting them or storm, you can make a set. And I've seen, in his picture, literally it'll go up to the ceiling. Like this is a number 1, a 2. They go up to number 20. This is a 6. So they're big. So it's pretty neat, and the information I have lists like the recommended thickness for it, and so it's all different woods. The veneer for this is like figured anagray. These are bird's eye maple and cherry walnut, English sycamore, curly maple. So it's neat because traditionally they were just really out of pine that the Shakers made, and maybe a little bit of cherry. But you can do it in any species you want. So the one thing I'm going to say is not every piece of wood wants to become a box. And straight grain, quarter sawn, that's good. It'll bend pretty good, but if you got a little bit of busy grain going on, it just won't bend. You could steam it, and it's going to crack. It's going to put tension on something. And this is, American sycamore, and the failure rate was pretty high on this because the wood just wasn't compliant.
Did you get the bands from Wilson?
No. I think I did have one band when I bought like all that stuff originally. I think I did, but I made it all, and I just resawed everything, and then used a thickness sander to get the right thickness. There's ways to run thin wood through a planer using like a piece of 1/2-inch MDF or something, and it will work, and a helical head will be better, but you can still blow it up, you know, when you're doing it. But it'll work. But it's been fun, and you know, I'm just building them to give them away as gifts, you know, to friends and family. So, but it's you know, I would encourage anybody that thinks they want to try something different after I do the demo, because what I'm going to do is I've got all these forms now, and being it took me 15 years to build the first one, I'm probably not going to build them again. So I'll keep these forms and I'll just put them in the club, you know, lending library, and you guys are welcome to try it, because it took a lot of time to make these forms. And you know, once you've got them, and you know, when I say kind of demonstrate how to do this, it'll take some of the mystery out of it, basically. It's not hard, it just takes some time, you know, to make them look good. So, any questions? And I've learned that to try and spend a little time to get this as straight as you can, lined up, is worth it, and save time in the long run, that this won't be twisted. I really wasted a lot of time here, but it's already kind of shaped. This is good enough. And so, you know, it's just a repetitive process to drive these copper pegs in. That one's going in crooked already. So the things are long enough that they cinch over. So it hits the metal and it bends over, and that's what holds it all together. Like watching paint dry here.
We're waiting for you to hit your nail.
Yeah.
So how long are those tacks, Mark? I can't see from here.
They're just long enough to go through, and the ends will bend over.
Okay, so the end is hitting a piece of metal.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
you're hitting.
Like a rivet, like a rivet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's creating like a rivet. And there's like 6 different sizes of these, depending on how thick or how thick your wood is actually. And like I said, the fellow John Wilson, if somebody wants to do this, you know, I think he'll sell as much or as little as you want to be able to get started.
Now, what keeps your steam vent side there from going into a circle as opposed to an elliptical?
After we get these tacks on, which is taking a long time here, I'll put it back in those thin things, which are called shapers, and that's going to get the form back where it needs to be again.
Oh, gotcha. So you have a time window doing all of this.
Yeah, I mean the initial thing is getting it shaped and bent without cracking, but you do.
Picture for a website. Where did the shakers buy their propane from?
Probably the forest. They probably.
The Amish.
Hey,
Cows.
came from the Alps.
Cows.
So from here, you just put these, which I should have made this a little smaller, because it's. So these things are tapered actually. After I get this one in, I'll show you. So see, that's where we're at. Okay, and the reason you got holes in it, so just the air can escape and it'll dry. And this is going to stay here until it dries, maybe 2 days. Now I have to put the extra band on, which we're going to do that now. And we'll do kind of the same thing.
I think it's on a different table.
Cons?
Yeah, thank you. I have to take a volunteer. If you lose these things, I have to take a volunteer to stick your hand in here.
Glasses, Steve.
Yeah.
I volunteer Lance.
This is the 200-year-old pine. You can see this, how it's so flexible.
How do you know it's 200 years old, George?
Because it came from that Empire dresser that I pulled out of garbage. And it was all cut hand mortise and tenons. So I'm kind of making an assumption, but I think it was original.
Looks like only about 190 years old.
Well, it could have been.
Jackson was president then.
What's the purpose of that? That's reinforcement?
This year, I'm just going to shape the top.
It's going to be the lid.
Oh, that's going to be the lid?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
you want to make sure that that's tight. And then I'm going to draw the pencil line across it again. And this is a little more critical because if you make it too small, you're not going to get it on. Make it too loose, it's sloppy. So.
Wait a minute, I just got an order for 100 of those for Christmas.
What year? Definitely not this year. Am I swinging that hammer right, Wilbur? It's a Japanese hammer. You gotta do something different.
That's why it's coming out better. You have to use your left hand.
Then I won't definitely smash a finger.
Wilbur just has to have a tank here.
And that anvil is just a pipe?
Yeah, yep.
Now,
So,
the top is pre-drilled, right?
yeah, yep. And it's as much as just knowing where to put the, where the tacks are going to go. You definitely want these things going in straight where it won't cinch over. But if it doesn't, you just take either needle or something to pull it out and just do another one, which I've done obviously. So getting the fingers going in the right direction is important because if not, it's just not going to work out just right.
Was there a learning curve, Mark, and if that's too tight, it'll never be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if it's too loose?
I've had some that have been awful tight, and then what I did, I just sanded the hell out of it.
Okay,
Make it
gotcha.
fit. But yeah. So these, I'm just moving this. What's supposed to happen is these, the tack line's supposed to all line up, so I'm trying to just get that a little better. So this one I should have made just a little smaller. These, let me put this on, I'll tell you. So now I'm just lining these up a little better. And once it dries completely, then it'll kind of take this shape.
Are we going to wait for it to dry?
Probably not. But I've got, okay. So traditionally, most of the fingers went to the right, if you're going to say that. So you just got to, that's one thing to be aware of, you don't want to put this on this way and put that one on the other way. So there's just a couple things like when you're doing this that can, send you awry. But basically, you wait till this dries, you take it out, you sand it a little, and then you have to shape the top, fit the top and the bottom. But that's basically it. So it's anything bigger than a number 6, the biggest one, you really need another set of hands because the wood's just big. It's going to bend relatively easy, but I would struggle trying to do it by myself. And the other thing is when the fingers, if you're not kind of holding them all at once, if part of that springs back, it'll split right here. I've had a couple split. So just, you need to kind of keep it down, and that's what I'm saying here. But it's, it's a thick piece of wood a wide piece of wood rather, to that you would need to start that. And these pieces were, let me look at the chart here, just to give you an idea. So that was a number 4 we did. The band itself was 27 inches long. So it's a pretty long board. You know, it's got to be pretty straight grain. And the other one was the top piece was an inch longer, 28 inches. And the thickness for a number 4 was roughly 75 thousandths, so 0.075. And that's just kind of a guide. Some wood bends easier than others. This could be a lot thicker because the pine bends really well. And all this information I just printed or got from the fellow John Wilson when I ordered those tacks and some other stuff. And like I said, I saw somebody selling these shapers, these things, or the molds rather. So, there was a lot of work to making these, which like I said, I'm just going to put in the tool lending library and people can borrow them.
Did you make those out of solid wood or are those plywood?
Yeah, just glued up pieces. So what I've seen people do for the bigger ones, they're using just like rigid foam insulation. Because if not, it'd be a lot of weight here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And unnecessarily. So the rigid foam insulation is probably a way to go. All right, I'm gonna. Yep.
When you make the tops and the bottoms, you said you shape them. Do you make them duplicates of the pattern?
Now, so I'll talk about that.
Okay.
I'm going to do one more, and then I'll kind of go through the process.
Okay.
I'll do one more because I drug all this stuff here, and it won't take that long to do it. So now I got to switch tacks because the next one is just a little smaller, which means the wood's a little thinner. But you know what? And we'll just use these bigger ones. It's not that much bigger. Put a few more out here.
Now, Mark, are these going to be gifts, or is this just something you wanted to do, or?
Yeah, just gifts, And honestly, I wasn't going to make 30 when I started, but I started slicing up wood, and one thing led to another. Before I knew it, I had a stack of wood laying on the floor.
Well, I'm impressed, though. You cut all that veneer yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of work doing just the veneer itself.
Yeah, but I've got a pretty good fence that sits on the bandsaw, and you just take a lot of time getting it parallel to the blade, and you just feed it through. And I've got the surface sander, so I wasn't even planing one side. I was just bandsawing it, and then send it through the surface planer or surface sander, sand one side, flip it over, and do the other,
Okay.
and then work up to that dimension with calipers. And you didn't have to be that precise, but like I said, not every piece of wood was forgiving. So by getting it close to that size, I had a lot less failures. And almost everything worked good. It was just that American sycamore, that quarter sawn stuff looks really pretty. The smaller boxes are harder to bend because there's a very tight radius.
I mean, these are shaker boxes. The original shaker boxes, their tools they had for making veneer were just hand tools.
No, they use hand planes. They resaw it with a saw, and then use a hand plane to plane it.
And I'm sure they were not
No,
conform all the way through.
But it was older growth, and it was pine. And pines, you saw that piece I pulled out. It was like
Usually they were always pine.
Yeah, they used it was all utilitarian stuff. It was used for it was like Tupperware of today in the kitchen. That's what it was originally. And then they sold so much of it commercially too, in later years. So, all right, we're gonna make it number 3 next. We'll do that.
Got some questions?
Yep.
So you have a separate form for the top, for the lid, which is wider, which accounts for the thickness of the bottom.
You basically let me bend this first, and then we'll do that, and we'll answer questions and talk about that.
As the form. You're using the sides as the form.
Yeah, when that one dries, that's the template to cut.
Oh, so that's what you, okay.
Yeah, you're working from that template.
Okay. And then I noticed that the tails are already been thinned.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did that at home, on a belt sander.
Okay, and then the other, just
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
clarification, the fingers you did dry with just a utility knife.
Yeah, but I actually did the bevel I cut, my glasses fogged up here. The bevels I cut when it's hot. Just easier. So I can see this one's a little harder to bend. I gotta spend all too much time bullshitting. But the ads seem pretty compliant. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
You're in a bad.
So, traditionally, when they made wooden boats, this is exactly what they did.
What, made shaker boxes?
The steam bending process.
Well,
Pencil.
Mark, there's another thought. Yeah, the direction of the fingers will indicate the vertical part. Mark, do you ever drop it back in the steam?
Attack?
No, when you work with it, if it's not confined, you put it back in? Or?
Yeah. So, you're right. If you get messed up, you just put it back in the water again. If you get interrupted or whatever, you can put it right back in again.
Is it possible to put spring clamps on that? As an extra pair of hands?
You probably could. It's just whatever you can do to work fast, These nails have to go straight, and you can like angle the hammer to get the nail to go straight. I was saying to some people, this fellow Steve Wilson, he has a DVD. Quality is really poor, but he gives you basically the Reader's Digest version if you want to do this. I watched the DVD twice before I started that, and it really was very helpful and saved a lot of time. And like all these things with this anvil, this was all stuff that he had either in his instructions or on his website or something where I saw it all at.
I was looking at your box, Mark. Inside there, I don't see the tack really coming through that much. It must be.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah.
It's just enough to catch it.
Yeah, just enough to catch it and give it a little edge so there's holding.
Yep.
And that's the same way the shakers would do it?
Yeah. They didn't have epoxy.
Except they would use a Western hammer.
20-ounce framing.
I bet you did, they would.
I'm glad you had this one because if not, I'd be using that framing hammer.
By the way, while Mark is hammering, Wilbur, you sent that Nakashima invite out to everybody, right?
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, if anybody got a chance to watch that, please do. It's done at midnight tonight,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. It's a great documentary if you get a chance to watch it.
Where?
It was sent out through the CJWA. Did you receive it?
No, he's having a problem with his email.
Okay, so, yeah, if you can just get somebody to shoot it out.
So a number fits?
So you don't have access to
Fits in your truck,
you're not
I guess?
receiving on call?
Yeah, just.
Anything? No.
You know what? We ran out of juice. Oh, look at the band.
It might be still hot enough.
No, I don't see any flame. Yeah, no, it's definitely hot enough.
I'm not secretary anymore.
I got another tank if we need it, but we're going to be done here. So with this one, I just kind of line up where the nail holes would be, and then bend this around, lift this back up again to sneak this underneath, and put it over top of it. And like I said, in his website, or his DVD, basically showing the same thing, and you can keep playing it as many times as you need to get the gist of it. So any questions on what I'm kind of showing? So they said that, from what I read, you need like 180 degrees, which is almost boiling, for like 10 to 15 minutes. And then the wood should be pliable enough to shape.
So what's the most time-consuming process of this? Cutting the bands?
No, it's a little bit of everything. Honestly, the sanding and the finishing takes a lot of time too. And shaping the tops is all right. Where the hell that is?
What you just said? Oh, you ready to split?
So you shape the top on the form that
Yeah,
has
exactly.
that has the bottom already on it.
Yep. So this one's a little tight. I can see it already, but hopefully when it dries, it'll kind of conform, and it should be pretty good. Because I didn't have to really jam it on there. So that's it. So just gotta let these things dry. So this wood's so much darker because I didn't have enough ash that was long enough, so it was just another piece. And you know, it's gonna look like crap. It's gonna be different, but it's more for demonstration. So the next thing I wanted to show, and then I'll kind of back up and I'll talk about it. So once you cut out the tops, and we'll go back to that, you need to, this is just held together with, there's no glue, it's just held together with basically square toothpicks. And they act like a wedge when you drive them in. And what I've got is a drill, it's almost like a horizontal drill press. Just, this is parallel to this plate, and it's set up for a piece of wood that's like just under a 1/4 inch. So you turn the drill on, and you would take the box and mark wherever you wanted a hole, and basically just pull it in like that, go to the next one, pull it in like that. So it's an efficient way to drill the pilot hole all the way around to put the tacks in. And that's what I had to do on all of those. And for the smaller boxes, some of the thicknesses are a little thinner. So I just put like a piece of thin paper or cardboard under here. I raised it up and it kind of recentered the drill bit over the center, the thickness of the top or the bottom. So this one I haven't finished, and I'm far enough along now where I'm going to put these, I'm going to show you how we put these toothpicks in those holes.
A question. On the drill bit there, how do you set? You put a spacer so you get the right depth?
Yeah, so right now it's set up for like 2 1/4 inch piece of, but if it was a thinner piece, I would have to either lower the drill bit or raise up my platform.
What about the depth of the hole?
Oh, it goes in about a 1/2 inch, so that's where I got these stops here.
Okay.
So you just push it in, just drill it until it goes far enough. And honestly, I had a real old drill and I burned the first one up because it was on for like an hour.
So you made that jig and all that just
Yeah. Because it saves so much time. I mean, how it's going to do this? You hit the drill press, you'd be there for weeks. You know, so this really, it's
So
just
if you borrow the molds, Mark, does a drill jig and all that come with it?
I still need that drill, but I'll give you the plans on how to do that.
He's pushing you.
Yeah. So all right, so I've pre-drilled all these holes, and what I learned was to minimize cleanup, you want to get this as flush as possible. So the best way to do that is to have it on a surface so you can see what you're doing. And you find the holes, and it's getting darker by the hour here. And you just drive this in. This is John Wilson's idea, how to do this, the back of a pair of cutting pliers. And you just go right around. And these are all toothpicks that he sold. $1 a toothpick.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Now, his prices were very reasonable. And anyway,
They're not real toothpicks.
no, they are.
They are.
They are.
They are.
Diamond,
Square toothpicks.
Take them out of the kitchen when the wife's not looking.
Yeah.
square toothpicks.
Why square, not round?
I guess it wedges in.
Who says that a square peg doesn't fit in a round hole?
That's right.
Say that again?
Who doesn't believe that a square peg does not fit in a round hole?
I guess me.
This is proof it does.
That'll give it more bite, I guess. Look at
It's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's compressing the grain, guys.
Yeah.
No glue.
Yeah, and it had a lot more holding power. You're right.
They didn't pound the hole, they just blew it in there.
Mark, can you use these templates to size the top insert, the one you're putting in there?
You know, and I read something. He said that he did that originally, but to be more accurate, he didn't. And
Just trace it out? Yeah.
I'm only gonna do. I'm only gonna drive this in, and I'll take that bottom one out, and I'll show you.
Okay.
So basically, that's all you got to do. You come around here, you cut these things off. Now you got to sand these flush. And you know, originally I was filing it, but I took a carving tool, real sharp, either carving or real like a paring chisel, and just pared it away. And then you come back with some 220, and I was really sanding these things in like 5 minutes after I did that, and it worked really fast. So that was something I learned just by making a lot of them and saying, hey, well, there's got to be some way to speed this up. So doing that works pretty fast, and then, like I said, from there you start finishing. And the insides were never finished. And if you put, you know, if you finish the inside of a drawer, same thing. It's gonna, even if you use polyurethane, it's gonna never really gonna get the smell out of it. So shellac's the only thing you can finish inside, but traditionally they were not finished at all. So, you know, I just finished the outsides, and like I said, the way I did those, I had 3 coats, sanding between them, and the last one just wiped on and wiped off after it started to gel. And that gives you a really satin.
What did you use? I'm sorry.
That Minwax wipe-on polyurethane.
Gotcha.
I mean, you could use. It's just what I'm, used to using. But, you know, there's no rhyme or reason. So I'm going to mark this, and I'm going to take it apart because I have to put this back together because obviously I drilled these holes. But I'm going to show you how this is shaped. It's just registration marks, so when I put this back together again, I can get it where it's supposed to go, and these holes line up. So before I even start that, so the forms are vertical, okay, but the shapers, I think it's like a 10-degree angle. In his literature, that's what he says. So basically, when you put this in, you want a compression fit, and it wants to be tight. So if I was to make these again, I would probably make these shapers just a little bigger than the forms, so when it went in, it was tight. But my workaround is when I make the band, I drew my line off center a little, so when I came back here, I made it a little smaller. So that made it tighter. It's just, unless you're doing it, it's kind of confusing.
Makes sense, though.
But yeah, so then when the shaper the shaper goes in, it was tight, and it was getting to your form. And then when that dries, it basically conforms to the shape. So obviously this one's dried. I already did this base, and I spent a lot of time. When you ask what takes time, getting this to be a piston fit, because it'll make things so much easier and look better too. So, this is dry. I got my piece of plywood, I set it on here, get a really sharp pencil, and I just go around and I mark it. So now what I'm doing is I'm laying out for the base on this piece, on a piece of, roughly 1/4-inch stock. And this is this piece of 1/4-inch plywood with veneer glued to it. So it's, it's 1/4-inch. So from there, you got your line, you got your circle. You bandsaw it out, just a little heavy in the line. And this is his instructions say a 4-degree bevel. So again, when it goes in, it's like a piston fit. But I found that by reducing it a little, it actually worked a little better. So I just set up, I've got a Black & Decker, kind of like a small version of what you're trying to sell. The disc sander so basically I got this sander on a horizontal axis. No, a belt sander on a horizontal axis, sorry. And you just spin this around, and you're just sneaking up on the line. And I actually take the whole line away, and then every once in a while you go over to the box and check it. And when it's tight, you're good. If it's too loose, you might as well just, you could get through it, but it's better to be tight, because then everything is going to stay where you want it. And you're not going to have any slop, and it's going to look cleaner and everything. So it does take a lot of time to sneak up on this, but once you got that sander going, and I was using like 120 grit, so you're not taking a lot of material off, and you have better control of it. And you just kind of sneak up on it, and it works. It works actually very well. And you do the same thing for the top.
Well, 120 will work fast on the belt sander.
Yeah.
Be careful.
But I think that's what I've got. But after a while, it gets a little dull. So, it's not like you're using 80 grit. So,
That's a 4-degree bevel.
yeah, that's what it said. But I'm actually using, I actually put tape on it, and I'm using a little less than that. Because with the 4-degree, you see a little gap on the inside. You see a little gap. So, by going a less bevel, you see less of a gap. Yeah. See what else. So that's basically it.
Yeah, maybe I missed it, but do you account for the overlap in the end of the wood?
Well, yeah, when you're doing, so that was, you're right, let's talk about that. So, this wood's only like 70 thousandths thick, but before you make this, you're actually cutting, you're belt sanding like down to nothing.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's right.
it's feathered. Yeah, so that's done on a belt sander, and I just went to the horizontal belt sander and just put it on there, and I've got actually just a little block of wood. It's in one of those boxes.
And the original, did you ever see a shaker original? They beveled it?
Yeah. They feathered the ends.
Both ends or just the one?
Just the one. The other end's not feathered. That's like proud on the outside. It's just that the outside, the fingers, they have these.
Tapered or beveled?
Yeah, they have like an angled taper on them. Yeah. And again, John Wilson's, and then maybe another guy too, but he's really the guy that's got a little bit of everything. He shows all of this stuff, how to do it. So yeah, like I said, there's different size tacks for each one, and this this crazy chart is really helpful, because for any size that you're going to make, it'll give basically the band dimension, what size tacks you should use, what drill you should use. I think that's probably a 16th inch drill bit, maybe even less. What size holes to drill this, and again, I think this is 16. And there's all of the things you can make too. You can make this without a lid and a handle. There's serving trays. I mean, and there's been articles. If you just do a Google search, like American Woodworker, back when it was a good magazine, they had a lot of articles on different things that variations of the shaker, same kind of bent thing. So yeah, it's pretty neat. and like I said, you could make 1 or 100, but after you go through all the work of making these shapers, that's kind of like I just kept going. But I think he sells as much or as little as you would want.
The nails, the shafts, are they the same thickness, just different lengths?
Now, I think after a certain size, they get bigger. The shafts get bigger. That's why if you get real big, you need to use a bigger pilot hole drill for it.
They're actually not round either.
Now, I mean, you're right, they're not round. They're definitely tapered, and they're probably square, because I don't know how they're machined, but...
I think he makes it with wire. If the wire feeds through, it hits the head and it snips it.
Okay. Yeah, but the shaft itself is definitely tapered, because that's what, when it hits the anvil, that piece of metal, it bends over and it
Could you
cinches
send
it.
one around, or what, you're talking about the tacks, right?
Yeah, no, we could send some around.
I'd
or
like to see
put
what
them out
they're
here.
crowding up there.
Yeah, you know what? I'll open a bigger one so it's a little easier to see it. Here's the 2 1/4.
Are they copper or brick?
Yeah, no, they're all copper, and that's what traditionally used. So,
Is he the only source for it?
I think so. He actually bought the machines that make these things, because whoever had it was going out of business. You want to hand that around, I'll put it there so you can see it. Any species, well, some species bends better than others. I definitely wouldn't use any exotic stuff because I know that's not going to bend very well. But like I said, cherry, I mean, most people that sell shaker boxes make them out of cherry just because it looks nicer than pine. But you can vary the woods. I made some out of walnut, which walnut's really pretty, but it's hard to find, good sawn walnut. That's not going to give you problems.
How about mahogany, something like that?
I don't think so.
I bent mahogany and
Yeah?
it was like rubber.
Okay, well, I'm wrong. Yeah. I mean,
It has no seasonal.
you're right. Yeah, because it grows all. Yeah. There's very little invested here other than time. So you could try anything.
The sycamore looks pretty good, that small one.
It's really pretty. The bigger sycamore would probably be easier because I probably broke every other one when I was doing the sycamore. But I was trying to just make small ones. And I've got some wide sycamore too. So, but after I get done with these, I'm going to be out of the box making business for a while. But yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was just something different. Not a big investment, and just a little learning curve. But like I said, his DVD will really accelerate that.
Look like little carpet tacks.
Yeah. Yep. But he's kind of an interesting guy, and he gives. He's probably close to 90 now, but he gives, or he did, gave like weekend seminars. And so the templates, this is something else I learned, which was kind of interesting. So I just photocopied this and glued it to a piece of, like a file folder stuff. But then I used super glue on the edges. And I saw somebody did that. And what it does is it just strengthens the edge. Because over time, these things would get beat if it was just paper. But the super glue really will extend the longevity of these.
And that's what you did also with yours, a little.
Yeah, so I had some real thin stuff and just basically painted it on, just to kind of extend the life of these things. And like I said, I'll put all this crap that I'm not going to use in the lending library.
Right.
And
Harry Silver used to belong to the club 15 years ago, and he did these. His fingers were made out of aluminum.
Okay.
Oh, the templates.
Yep.
The templates, yeah. But the fingers, yeah.
So, to glue on the veneer, I used the vacuum press because I have one, but if you didn't, you could use this same melamine coated, like particle board, and take your piece of veneer and glue it to your plywood and just put some clamps on it, sandwich it together. So you don't need to spend much money. I mean, for all these things, you could do them with clamps and just some 3/4 inch particle board, making coils to clamp it down. And I use white glue to glue that veneer on because it works and it's stronger than a wood. And and you know, it's fun. But you know, taking your time to get the tops and the bottoms to fit tight really pays dividends, because then you don't have to. Because if it's loose, like you know, then it goes down, or then you got to do a lot of cleanup. And the other thing too, like spending time over here, getting this lined up good is important, because if not, you go to a flat surface, and if it's going like this, well now you got to take a hand plane and try and feather that out. So it pays dividends to you know, really be looking at to try and get everything lined up real good. So you're not like out of alignment. And like somebody asked about putting it back in the water again. Yeah, you know, if you just have some trouble, you know, your hand slips or something, or the wood's a little stiff, send it back to the bath. So.
That's good. So it must have been a pleasure doing this, though, in one retrospect, as compared to
Yeah.
your beautiful cherry.
Yeah,
Because this was a major project.
Yeah, yep.
This is something you could do and
Yeah.
at least a little, you know,
Yep.
get your mind off of work and stuff.
Yeah, so you know, you're exactly right. You could work on this for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or you know, an hour, whatever you had time for, because it's not like you know, you got to really think through the process. So yeah, it was good. I hopefully some people will just give it a try. And
Do you have a question?
No, I have to give it a try, because I've got, on the shelf, I've got a kit.
Okay.
A couple of boxes, and it's been sitting there about 15 years.
What size you need? I'll send you home with a shaper right now.
I can go look at it.
Okay.
A question about this demonstration box with the dark band.
Yeah.
You can finish that with a dark infill for the lid. I haven't seen any 2-tone boxes
Nah.
anywhere.
Yeah. It could be a first. Yeah, I don't know. It could end up. I'm definitely gonna finish the pine one, but that other one, that could be kind of a fireplace ornament.
Just curious, your boxes are all different species. Will your gift sets be all one species or mixed?
Well, I'm definitely gonna. The bird's eye ones, I'm gonna definitely keep for me, and the others, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. You know.
Okay.
So.
But you weren't planning to do.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my question.
Hopefully I'm done. I got a few more that you know won't be complete sets that I just have to finish up. But yeah.
Well, thank you very much,
Yeah,
Mark.
yeah, yeah.
You're welcome.